Hi everyone, I just wanted to let you know that there's less than 48 hours to grab your very own unique Free Range Homestead t-shirt or hoodie. So if you want to check that out, I've popped a link on screen now.
The arrival of spring has brought with it some lazy, warmer weather, but there's been plenty going on at the Ramshackle Ranch. We thought it was time for a general update and make a few introductions. Well, here's a very nice update. This is Astrid the dairy cow. Dean and Julia Ryan, who we went to interview, they were raising dairy steers for the meat industry. They gave us a call and they said, would you like a dairy cow? And we said yes. So Astrid's got in with the bulls. She's got a calf in there. She's already raised the calf, and Dean said she had good milk development and all the rest of it. He's a cow guy, so I sort of trust his opinion. She got in with the bulls, she's got a little calf, and he made her available to us and we said yes. So Astrid's now part of the Ramshackle Ranch, and she's only been with us about a week and a half. So she's still not, she's far from tame, but we're hoping that we've got a few months before she actually throws her calf for us to make friends. She gets used to contact without the bribes, and we can milk her. What I'm bribing her with at the moment is Spent Brewers Grain. So the local brewery has a waste product and they make it available to us. It's really great feed. Astrid loves it. She's willing to tolerate me and the flies to get at this stuff. She's doing a really good job of lawn mowing, so I don't have to. So until she has her calf and we start getting milk, I'm quite happy to move her around. I've just got electrified polywire to hold her in place, and that's the benefit of getting these dairy cows actually, is most of them are already trained to electric fence. So they are ready to go as lawnmower whippersnippers around your buildings. You just have to creatively contain them with a bit of electric wire. Well, not even wire, poly rope, so that's good. All right, Astrid, yeah, throw it on the ground for you. Well, you don't finish, the chickens will. I'm not really a cow person. The closest I ever got to cows before was me and my sister having cow poo fights when we were quite young. If you've got any tips there for making friends with your cow, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. We already heard from one kind person who told me that if you want to make friends with your cow quicker, you reach out and sniff noses with them. She's got grain, so she's not going to do it. That worked out very well. She is every morning. She comes in, sniffs noses, and I tried it yesterday afternoon. I actually got a big lick up the face, which it wasn't great. I have to be honest with you. It was quite a disgusting affair, but we're making progress with our cow, you know, so got to make that sacrifice. Under here is our Spent Brewers Grain that I was just feeding to Astrid the dairy cow. I just wanted to take a little detour because this is something that I found really, really useful. We have a brewery here that's willing to give me Spent Brewers Grain. They'll give me a whole IBC full, no questions asked, they're happy to get rid of it. It's a waste product they'd have to pay to get rid of. Now, the main problem with Spent Brewers Grain is it comes to you wet and it's full of protein, and so it composts really quickly, it breaks down very quickly, it goes mouldy very quickly. This stuff goes off at the drop of a hat. But I've found a really easy way to preserve it by looking online actually, and I will provide a link. If this interests you, you can go and look in the description for the link, the video talking about this that I found it from. So whereas before I used to put water in here and throw a bit of yogurt culture in here and try and get a lactic acid ferment to preserve it with lots of water and everything else like that, an even easier way is just to leave the drain on the IBC open so liquid can drain away. I actually throw sawdust down at the bottom of my drain so I can capture that liquid and throw it in the compost heap. I don't want it to just drain away and be wasted. But all you need to do is put it in one of these plastic containers, an IBC, in bulk storage. People are just putting putting it in big concrete bunkers or plastic lined trenches. So I've got my plastic cube here, and then you just get a sheet of plastic, and it's not that fiddly. Just tuck it down the side like you're making a bed. I'm assuming people out there make beds. Tuck it in as much as you can. Try and get this plastic to lay flat on the surface of the wet grain, and it stops it from going mouldy. So people preserve spent brewer's grain by making silage, and this is what we're replicating here. If you've ever driven through the country and you've seen hay rolls that are wrapped in plastic, that's also what they're doing. They're fermenting that hay, making silage for preservation. So online, in the link, the guy was saying that you can ensilage this for 3 weeks and then it will keep up for 6 months. We don't need to keep it that long, but I do need to just be able to feed this out through the week to my the cow, the goats, the chickens, the pigs. They all love it. I just need to feed it out to them through the week without it going off, on day 2, which is what normally happens. And this is just such an easy method. IBC, let it drain, let the liquid drain away, and just keep the plastic tucked in. So here's an interesting update. Rabbits can be toilet trained. So where the rabbits were going to the toilet, I noticed it was always in the same spot, which is in line with what I read. So I just put the tray in the same spot that they were going to, just got a little bit of the sawdust that had some urine, so it smelt right, threw it on the tray, and now they go to the toilet always in the same spot on this tray, which means I can just really easily just pick this up straight to the garden, straight to the worm farm, or straight to the compost. Really, it's just easier for us to throw this straight in the garden because that is amazing fertiliser. So another nice update now that spring is here is clucky chooks, of course. So we've already had we've actually had 2 of our Australorp mums. They went clucking. We stuck some eggs under them, and between them they raised 9 birds. Now one of the mums is pretty much taken over that, and even she's lost interest because they're teenagers now. So we've got a bit of a rat pack of chooks running around out there. But our mum here is she's just hatched out 8 from 10 eggs. So that's a pretty good result. Our little rat pack, they've got majority black Australorps, but she looks like she's hatched out a lot of greys. So that should balance up the numbers. We're raising birds for meat. Australorps are a dual purpose bird, so we're not going to just have an absolute flood of chickens as it looks like. We've actually got another one in there sitting on 10 eggs. They're very good mums, Australorps. They're very, very conscientious mums. So we're going to have a lot of chickens. Last year we raised 40 meat birds and we stuck them in the freezer. We won't do that again this year. It looks like our Australorps, as well as being good egg birds, they're good meat birds. It looks like our Australorps are going to supply us with our year's chicken. So that should be pretty good. We're very happy with it. I can really recommend these chickens. They're super, super gentle. Getting around here is some other chickens that we got at an egg swap at the community garden, and we hatched them out. After a week we just put them in general population, and now Australorps they never look like they might be aggressive towards them. They've paired off and they're just doing their own thing. And this Australorp mum, she just gets around with her chicks, and when all the rest of them come from free foraging, they never ever try and peck on these chicks or do anything nasty. They've got a very good nature. I can really recommend Australorps as just a backyard bird. They're not it takes them a while to get into egg production, and they're not super fast growing, but they've got a lot of traits that we really like. So thank you, Mama Chook. I'll leave you in peace now. Don't mind me, I'm just patting my goats. So a little bit of an update is we are down to 2 goats. So we did lose Dot's daughter some time ago, if you remember. She tried to jump one of the farm gates that had grid mesh on it. She trapped a leg and broke it. So we did have 3 goats. We had the 2 mums here, and we also had Hugo, our wether, which is a castrated male. He got to the point where he started to jump on this shed. He was skylarking around. He was trying out his climbing skills. Well, when I was due at the hospital to go and welcome my baby daughter into the world, Hugo actually took a tumble and he broke his leg. So I was a bit sad about that. Hugo, even though he was weather and he didn't really serve much purpose, we were thinking maybe he'd be good like as a pet or something like that, because he was enormously cuddly. But as it turned out, I had to sort it out, so we popped him in the fridge. I know it sounds cold-hearted. In the fridge, cold, get it? I know it sounds cold-hearted, but we don't want anything to go to waste, so you're better off, you know, what are you going to do, bury a goat? So we buried him in ice instead. Dot was quite upset when she lost her daughter, because she was quite attached to it. Jude, who just exited, she didn't really mind. Hugo was, he was quite old. He was still hitting her up for milk, which he was sort of just reluctantly giving out. She was losing condition. Something had to be done anyway. I think maybe male goats, just sooner or later they up and leave anyway. So she was sort of down with it. And anyway, we come and give them scratches and pats every day. So she didn't really miss him as much as we did, to be honest. So there you go, goats. They're very annoying sometimes, but they've got such kind characters that they really grow on you. They're such pests, though. So there we go. We're down to 2 goats. There's a spring update that we didn't really want to bring you, but it was always going to be that way. Oh, well, how about a little quick garden update? So this is spring. Like I said before, it's an early spring. It's already quite hot. The cabbage moth caterpillars are already quite busy. So this is the garden that I built about 5-6 weeks ago, and you can see that it's going quite well. I put in daikon radish and a beetroot relative, Mangle Wurzel here, and Pascal's gone and put our supply of lettuce in, and they're doing really well here actually. They get morning shade from a cork oak. This garden bed, if you missed that episode, it was Tagesasti, straw, some manure, and then we just topped it off with a bit of compost to plant into, and you can see it's going really well. We planted these greens in here just to knock the top off the nitrogen, that nitrogen that was freely available. They'll get that down, and then later on, as this bed develops, we can have crops that don't necessarily like such high nitrogen, like beans and peas and things like that. Any other brassica except daikon would probably be overwhelmed by a cabbage moth, but this stuff grows so vigorously and so strong, it's very, very hardy that it can handle it. With regard to the rest of the bed, you can see it looks a little bit empty. We just went through, Pascal went absolutely crazy. She's ripped out all the brassicas, because at this time of the year, of course, they're starting to bolt. She did a massive garden cleanup. I did too. So we got rid of a lot of our artichokes. We've snipped those off. We've eaten quite a few. We've got a few for cut flowers. We've got those up there. A lot of the broad beans, we harvested the broad beans, we've taken them off, and now we've slashed all the bushes down, and we're actually using that as our mulch for the garden beds. The thing about broad beans is they're a very, very good, fast bioaccumulator. They'll fix nitrogen from the air, they grow very fast, they give you a lot of organic matter that you can turn back into your garden. So we're not composting that somewhere else and bringing it back, we're just laying it down as mulch. Pascal did a pretty good onion harvest. We're still waiting on the shallots and the garlic. They don't look amazing now that the hot weather's come, but the garlic in particular has some really nice bulbs, some long neck garlic and some standard garlic, so we're hoping that pans out really well. The asparagus bed is coming along really well. So last year our neighbour took us out, we got a few corms out from an old asparagus bush, and the asparagus is just going crazy. We transplanted a few strawberry plants. They were along the path. They started to pup. Pascal only got a couple. They started to pup, and we've just transplanted them all around the beds to see how things go. Strawberries look like they really enjoy the company of asparagus, so they're going well, but everywhere there's strawberry plants, we have strawberries now. Spring is here and they're growing really vigorously, so it's really great. I was a little bit foolish. I planted mint in the vegetable gardens, so now we've got mint to eradicate. I don't think we ever will, but I have been actually transplanting all of our herbs around onto our paths, and later on, because all the garden beds are separated from the paths by this sheet iron. So hopefully all of those herbs will take off along the sheet metal, and as they go out along the paths, just us tromping on them will, not only will it smell good when we're walking around in the garden, but that should keep things down to a dull raw. You know, we won't have to specifically manage it. It may be wishful thinking, but we'll see how it goes. We've got mint, we've got thyme, chives, and we just keep spreading things. Oregano whatever we get, we just put it into our pathways now, because our paths have actually broken down now into amazing soil in their own right, which I knew they would. Also, we've, by selectively just getting our Dutch hoe and just killing grass, some of our paths are actually showing up in the actual vegetable gardens themselves as just a path of clover. Very nice to walk on. So again, another nitrogen fixer. I'm really happy to see that develop. So we're going to just keep experimenting with that, just selectively weed, leave some clovers on the path, and hopefully we can just get lots of that. I was thinking of having thyme lawn in between our paths, but the thyme that we've got spreads so aggressively. It's not as bad as mint, but it's pretty full on. Scale's done fairly well with the seedlings. Not all of them were successful, but we have put in some zucchini. We've put in a few pumpkins that we're going to grow out of the patch this time. We'll just try and keep the goats away from them. We have put a few tomatoes in. Last time we grew tomatoes, we grew so much, and we were just like, well, what we'll end up doing is bottling them, and we did bottle them, but we've still got so much of it left. So some of our favourite tomatoes, like the Tigerellas and the local uglies, we've just putting a few in this season, just enough for us to eat fresh. So we haven't gone as crazy with tomatoes as we did last year, because we're still eating those tomatoes. This amount of garden is just so much for people that also supplement their diet. We supplement our diet of meat with vegetables, to be honest. We eat a lot more meat than we do plant material. Over in the other brassica beds, because the nitrogen has been knocked down, which is what we're hoping this does, we found that it's a good environment now for beans. So when we were trying to grow beans last season, they got a bit leggy. They weren't amazing. They didn't grow that satisfactorily. This season, now that we've had carrots and also brassicas go through the beds, our beans look really, really happy. As you can see, they're just really going great. So we've got some bush beans, and we've also trellised some scarlet runners. All of that should keep us pretty well in beans. So all of that's going great. So everywhere that I look, this is where the pigs have already gone through. All right, they came through, smashed down this, they grazed on it, and we've got some really great regrowth. Remember, I did a video about how pigs make pasture. Before they got into this was all just onion weed, really not great. So we can see that there's plenty of ryegrass, there's some barley, there's all sorts of oats and things like that growing. It's really, like there's a lot come back after the pigs have been through here. Some places where they dug up, and particularly where old mulch piles were when we chipped eucalyptus, it is a little bit bare. There's some clover growing here and some peas and things like that. But I also went and got some Jerusalem artichoke and just put patches of that around. So later on, when the pigs come back to this field, which will be a while, they'll actually have something to come and dig up again and get hold of those tubers, and I dare say they'll spread them. Jerusalem artichoke's a very hardy plant, so hopefully it grows here. It's also a source of mulch for our garden, which is why I put it in. But all in all of this is looking really great. It's still green. So the area that I left as sort of like an example plot of how the property was when we first moved in, completely brown and dead. This, we've still got really good cover, and even when the pigs come in here, they'll end up knocking this down and mulching this soil. So I'm very hopeful that by the time summer's over, all of this dirt will still be in good condition. There is some bare patches, but we'll see how our Jerusalem artichoke covers them up. So here's something a little bit interesting. This is where the pigs have been, and there's not a lot of bare soil, but the grass is quite short, which is perfect for fire season coming on. You can see long grass up at the top there. That's the flowering spikes of wild oats. That's where the pigs are at the moment. So they're not going to eat it down like they were able to here, because it's all dead spikes, but what they are doing is laying it over. They're smashing it down, so all of that will be nicely mulched. So also that will be, it's part of our fire strategy. But I couldn't ask for anything more than this. This is not going to create a big blaze going up the hill, which is what we were hoping for. Well, this area, it's still pretty long, but it's still green. So it's a real improvement on what we've had. Again, in the video, we just had a look at this when it had just been pretty much seeded. Now it's going to seed. Next year, we'll get a lot more plant density because, of course, I was just scattering a little bit of seed. All of these plants now are scattering a lot more seed than I could have hoped for. This is where the pigs will be coming into, so hopefully they will knock a lot of this down. I do want to let everything just get their seed heads nice and mature. A lot of the lupins and everything else like that I put in there, I can see their pods are pretty much mature, so we can just have the pigs come in and knock this down. I was going to borrow a slasher to put on the tractor and come and do it, but look, so far, if I move the feed bowls around and I move the electric fence every week, the pigs do a pretty good job of knocking it down without me using any diesel fuel. When the rains come back, it should find this soil nicely mulched by plant material with a lot of seeds ready to take off.